Welcome to the Life Coach Lounge. I'm Angela.
I'm Lisa.
I'm Emily. We're three life coaches who found connection in faith, friendship, and purpose.
Get ready for real talk, relatable stories, and practical tips you can actually use.
We're so happy you're here at the Life Coach Lounge.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Life Coach Lounge, where I'm here with my friends Angela and Lisa, and we are in for another great conversation today here in the lounge. So get comfortable, join us, sit back, relax. Today, we are talking about what it's really like to work with a life coach. So all three of us are certified Christian life coaches with a general practice, and we just thought maybe our listeners would be a little more curious about what it actually is like to work one-on-one with a life coach. So if you'll remember back in episode 4, we talked about coach speak, and that was kind of breaking down some of the words that coaches might use, what they might mean. And so today we're just going to go a little bit farther into the coaching world and pull back the curtain a little bit to give you an idea of what it's like. So I thought we could start with a fun question. If you had a personal life coach in high school, what is one thing you wish they could have helped you with? Lisa, do you want to get us started today on that one?
Sure. I would definitely, if someone could have helped me with my self-worth, that would have been amazing. Because as you both know, and I think I might have touched upon it when we talked about your life sentence. I don't remember which episode that was, but episode 8 maybe. We talked about having just like a recurring belief that stems from our childhood. And in retrospect, if I could go back to high school and have someone help me with just having more self-confidence and recognizing my own self-worth, that would have been a game changer, because here I am in my mid 50s and I'm still working on it. And that's not a problem, but to answer your question, I might not be working so hard at it if I had addressed it when I was in high school.
I can totally relate to that. And I was just thinking if we would have been able to work with a life coach that also knew about the concept of a life sentence back in high school, just what a different trajectory our life would be on as far as discovering who we are and what we believe and what some of those core beliefs are. So I feel like my one thing that I wish a life coach would have helped me with would be similar to what you said, Lisa, but more on the confidence level of confidence in just being me, not being so influenced by other people, what they thought of me, what their opinions were, just really that self-confidence piece for me. How about you, Angela?
So, I don't know if you guys had this in high school, but our school was super cliquey. And there were like the popular kids, and I just wanted to fit in. I wanted friendships. I always felt like I didn't fit in. And again, with the life sentence, I think that played into my struggling in my friendships because I thought nobody liked me, which made me very insecure. So I wasn't always the friendliest person because of my insecurity. And looking back, I think that definitely cost me some relationships. So I think having a coach in high school would have helped a lot with that. And, I didn't need to be the cool kid and, just enjoy the friends that I had. Maybe I was the cool kid. Maybe I could just look back at high school and tell myself I was the cool kid.
I mean, I think at this stage of life, we all are mature enough to say, what even is a cool kid? Like, what is the definition of a cool kid, right? Everybody is amazing in their own unique way. So the whole cool kid mentality is, a bunch of garbage, I guess I could say. And Angela, I think you described every high school everywhere when you said, I don't know if your high schools were cliquey. I think that's kind of the nature of that season of life. And a life coach would have been just an amazing gift at that time. Okay, let's move into maybe some myths about life coaching and what it is versus reality. So, myth or reality, ladies? So, as a life coach, do you just tell people what to do? Angela, is that a myth or is that really how it is.
We do not tell people what to do, but it's interesting because a lot of people come into coaching looking for answers. And if you've ever been given advice by someone, even someone you look up to, a mentor, someone you trust, and it just doesn't feel right to you, it doesn't land right, and you think, wow, that's what they would do, but I'm not sure if that feels right to me. That's because we all have our own intuition. And so as a coach, that's what we seek to draw out of you is your own wisdom and your own Holy Spirit guidance that's within you. So no, we will not tell you what to do.
How about the myth or reality of this statement, Lisa? Do I need to have my life together first?
No. And who does? No, absolutely not. Like, that is definitely a myth. And having you ask me that question reminds me of, so I do side professional organizing for friends and family, like through word of mouth. And that right there, that kind of sentence comes up in that scenario too. Like, okay, well, I have to like organize it, or I have to do something. Like, I can't let her see it as it really is. I'm like, no, you're missing the point. Like, I can only help you edit it and make it work for you if I see how it is in real time. Same with coaching. Like, you just show up as your true, authentic self. And sometimes even your full self, which we all show up as. That's what the coach is there to help you with. They're there to guide you through it, not show up having all the answers already before you even come to coaching.
It's a great analogy, the organizational services that you offer. That was a really great analogy. Another myth is, isn't it just expensive advice from a friend? And the answer to that is no. A coach is not going to be like your friend, because your friend is going to lament with you and quote unquote get in the pool with you and swim around in your turmoil, your story, all of the things. And friends are amazing to come alongside you and say, I'm here with you, I'm sitting with you in this. But a coach is going to stay neutral and not be in your circumstances so that they can offer you ways to maybe think about it differently. So it is definitely not the same as venting to your bestie. You can come to coaching and vent all you want, and that we welcome that. You have to get all of your thoughts out to see what's in there. But the way we respond is going to be way different than just confiding in your best friend. So, why do people hire life coaches? What are some reasons that people hire life coaches? The first thing I thought of was, for me personally, I mean, I have had coaches. I currently have coaches, and at the basic level, I just wanted to feel better. There were thoughts in my head. There were circumstances in my life. There were things where I just felt like I couldn't let go or I couldn't get unstuck. I just wanted to feel better. And so once I learned that working with a coach could be that neutral person to go to help me see things differently, I mean, that can be just the only reason, because you want to feel better. What are some other reasons that people might hire coaches?
I'll take it. So I'm going to take it in a little comparison. So when I was diagnosed with a health condition that was completely left field, blindsiding, one of those type of conditions, and I sought out therapy for this chronic condition, which was super hard to find because I was looking for someone who specialized in the chronic aspect of what I was dealing with. Once I found that therapist and worked through things as therapists do in my deep-rooted past, I was in a place where I was able to move forward. It was actually a blessing for me that she moved on, like literally moved on to another state. And so we didn't meet anymore. And I happened upon coaching and I think we talked about this in another episode too, like, what is coaching? I don't even know what that is. And I was in a place where I needed to move forward. I had done my work in my past. I had worked with the therapist, but The therapist was not there necessarily to guide me in my forward motion and work with my emotions on what that forward motion looked like, because I certainly didn't know. So a coach for me was super beneficial in that kind of transitional place in my life where having a health diagnosis, losing a job, like I was going through a lot of transitions all at once. And so a coach was super helpful then because I just felt overwhelmed and stuck.
I think you touched on a great point too, Lisa, that you don't have to choose between seeing a therapist or a counselor or a coach. They can work beautifully together for different reasons,
Yes,
depending on the type of help you're looking for.
for sure. And it was needed for me. I needed both.
Angela, what are some other reasons that you have found that people might hire a life coach?
So I think one of the common ones is when we feel stuck in a certain emotion for an extended period of time. It might be overwhelm, it might be burnout, it might be self pity, it could be bitterness where we're just move past, something that happened to us in our lives and just looking to move out of just feeling stuck in that emotion. Like this will never change. This will never get better. And your perspective is just stuck there. It's a great time to talk to a coach and shift. They will help you shift that perspective and sort through your emotions to move forward.
Yeah, I love that. And just to reiterate, to seeking help in any form, whether it's therapy or coaching, does not equal weakness. It actually shows wisdom. Like seeking help and support, there's absolutely no shame in that. So, as we were preparing for this episode, Lisa, I think you did a little bit of research and you found some statistics or some data about people seeking coaching. Would you mind sharing that with us and our listeners? Because I found it very fascinating.
Of course, my analytical brain did.
Of course, we expect nothing less from you, Lisa.
So, one of the key things that stood out to me in the research that I did, there's always skepticism with having emotional conversations with a professional, whether it's a therapist or a coach. There's skepticism that kind of walks alongside that. And so one of the things I read was the effectiveness of the skepticism dissolves when this data was presented. Coaching delivers 5.7 times return on investment. Let me repeat that, 5.7 times, with a 99% client satisfaction rate and a 96% willingness to repeat the process. That's huge. I mean, it does not shock me because I am in it. I think we all have our own coaches, even sitting here in this lounge right now, other than each other, obviously. But we all have hired coaches for ourselves. So those numbers don't really shock me, but it's so awesome to just see it in writing, like to see people who go out there and do that research in the coaching world, that those are some high percentage numbers. So that was super exciting.
It's very validating as a coach, but it's also validating as a client. Like you said, we all have our own coach and pay for our own coaching. So it is validating even being on that side of it.
Yeah, I agree.
So, what happens in a coaching session? Let's actually really pull back the curtain. So, we all have our own coaches that we meet with regularly. So, how can we describe what that feels like from the client side? Because we all experience that. Not only do we coach people, but we also are the client. And so, what does that look like? What does that feel like? How about let's go into that first session, if we can remember back. I remember being super nervous for this one coach that I had hired, and I don't even know why. I was nervous. I think I had this idea that he was a super successful coach and well known and everything, sort of that, not celebrity status, but sort of. And so I was a little bit nervous. But I think even not knowing the person, you can have those pre session jitters, and that's completely normal. Right? Completely normal. I think that's the same as if you go to a new doctor for the first time, or a new dentist office, or a new therapist. right? Like that's to be expected. There's a little bit of nervous energy. And I feel like that first session is also just kind of getting those nervous jitters out a little bit, seeing what does this look like? What does this feel like? Do we connect? How can they get to know me? How can I get to know them? And I know for me, with my first session with clients, I like to just go over a few expectations and maybe ask them what their goals are. Just really kind of set the stage for understanding why we're both here, why we're both together, what can we expect from each other. But once all of that is out of the way, what else, ladies, can you add to what that looks like from a client side to work with a coach?
I totally agree about the jitters. I will admit that I felt the same way. Was looking for assistance with like a particular thing, and so it's like a double-edged sword. Like I'm showing up because I recognize that I could use the help, which is why I'm hiring this person and paying for it. And at the same time, then I have to admit, like, I can't do the thing, or I need help with the thing. And so there's that little bit of underlying fear or guilt or shame or all those emotions kind of bubbling up that prior to the coaching, we just want to shove them right down and shut the door and not deal with them. So definitely had some jitters there. And I love what you said, Emily, about kind of like breaking the ice, almost like when you're first coaching someone. And I like to do the same thing. And just if you find that the person is kind of deer in the headlights, like, okay, I'm here, I don't really know where to start or what to do, instead of like just saying, well, how are you? I will just ask more open-ended questions. Kind of like, we're all taught when your kids are young to like skip over the any answer that your kid is going to give you that results in a one-word answer, like fine, good. So like a more open-ended question, just to kind of break the ice. Like, what happened this week in your life that has brought you the most joy? It could be anything from a coffee date with a friend to I found a new lipstick at Target that I love, like any of those type of things, but something that they have to like think about that gets them out of their head a little bit. Because we're going to get in their head and help them, deal with things that are coming up for them, but just to kind of soften that jitters, because I think the jitters are normal. Even if you are a coach, the jitters are normal showing up. How about you, Angela?
So, when I went to coach certification, one of the things that I was taught is to visualize your client sitting on the couch next to you. And I think when I come into a coaching session, it does feel, because you're talking face to face, either in person or on camera, it feels like it's that that person and me, and we're kind of in a face off almost. But if I can visualize the person next to me on the couch and we have the same goals, we have the same vision, they're really there to support me and listen, which is a huge piece of coaching, that your coach is there to listen to you. That feels so much better. It feels very safe. And so I really appreciate that about coaching. The other thing I learned in certification is you don't have to bring anything to a coaching session. You don't have to have a topic. You can start your session with, I had a pretty good week, and your coach can take it from there. Your coach has you. They will lead the session. You don't have to bring anything to lead the session. They will take care of it. So I think that takes a huge weight off, just as a client, knowing I can just show up and not bring the big problem with me.
Yes, absolutely. And not every session is going to have a big aha or light bulb moment either. But the more you meet with your coach, the more you realize you have that relationship, that place to really just talk about anything, be vulnerable. You do start to feel better. It's not like that's the goal of every session, to get to this one aha breakthrough moment. That could happen, but that's not the goal. The goal is to be there for you, for whatever you might need. So I think the main point we want to make also, again, to reiterate, coaches don't give advice. They help you find your answers from within through curiosity and good questions and good listening. Right. And like Angela said earlier, as Christian life coaches, we believe the Holy Spirit inside of you is guiding and directing you for what to do and how to make changes and what direction to go. We will not be your Holy Spirit. We'll just help you get in tune to what that spirit is telling you. So some of the practical sides of coaching is there can be in-person one-on-one coaching sessions. And I have done that. I'm not sure if either of you have had that in-person coaching. But most of the coaching we do is virtual. So it's on a Zoom screen. And it does foster connection, believe it or not. That's how the three of us keep in touch
It really
on a
does.
screen. And so if you're afraid of the technology, don't be. It's a very convenient way. Both of you can be in your homes in a quiet room. Sometimes a busy mom will need to go out to her car on her phone and look at the screen to get away from all of the kids to have that privacy. But that is just a great way to make it accessible to anybody, anywhere. And Angela already said this, but it's great to drive this point home. You don't need to prepare at all. You just need to be there, ready to show up, ready for that connection with your coach, and they can take it from there. Another practical thing is coaches will offer one-off sessions. So like a one session here and there when you need it. And also there is a value in signing up with a coach for 6 weeks or 6 months or 12-month coaching relationship. The longer you work with your coach and build that rapport, the deeper you can go and the more that relationship develops, similar to therapy, right? So let's just camp out quickly on sort of the messy middle of coaching. So if you do have that long-term relationship with a coach, ladies, have you found that resistance might show up?
As the coach or as the client? And yes.
Either or both. Let's go there. I was thinking more the client because once you get to the point of really digging deep into something or needing to work through something, I know for me, resistance has shown up where I'm like, oh, I don't really want to go there. That's too emotional or that's too big or that's too deep. Like, I just want to say to expect that, especially if you're doing the work and you're being honest and you're showing up with vulnerability, you're going to get to some places where growth is going to happen. And often there's resistance that you have to work through to get to the other side of that.
Yeah, and good coaching comes without judgment. So the coach is listening to that resistance, is listening to your thoughts about it, how you feel about it. And because the questions are coming up, it is very likely that you show up to a session and you're like, okay, well, I want to talk about this today. And then your coach throws in a zinger question and you answer it. And then you're off to left field talking about something that is so relevant to what you showed up for and you had no idea. So if you can lean into that resistance, it's just going to be even more magical to be like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought of that. Wasn't even on my radar. So if you can just lean in a little bit, I know it's uncomfortable. Trust me. I know. We all know.
Ask us how we know, right?
Yes, yeah, we all know.
I know too, working with a coach long term, I have passed judgment on myself because a similar theme tends to come up. And so I found myself apologizing. Like, I know we've talked about this before, but this is coming up again. And I just want to say right now, there's nothing wrong with that. That means that you're still working through something. And again, that's a value, I think, of working with a coach for a longer period of time because they can also come back to the fact that you were talking about this a few months ago or a few weeks ago, and that's not a problem. Let's keep working through it. Okay, how about finding the right coach here as we start to wind down the conversation a little bit? So there might be some green flags or red flags to consider when you are trying to find the right coach. So Angela, do you want to let us know maybe what some green flags are, some like really positive things that you might sense or find in a coach or what to look for?
So I think that a good coach listens. You feel a connection to them. They support what you say. They don't discount anything. They don't discount your words. They don't discount your emotions. And you will have some resonance with the coach. My husband and I have a coach. The longer we coach with him, the more my husband says, we are so much alike. I can't believe how much we're alike. And I just think there's been enough times that we've met now where Jim is like, okay, I have a lot of commonalities with this guy, and it just builds the connection. It feels like a friendship in some ways. You will feel safe with your coach. You will feel safe to say the hard things. You will feel safe to talk about any subject. You might have emotions that come up, but you'll feel safe releasing them in the presence of your coach. And as far as red flags go, I can just say I did have a bad coaching session one time. I don't even like to call it a coaching session because I don't think she was coaching me. I think she was bullying me. And so you will know if it doesn't feel right. And that was definitely a one-off for me. I did not go back. So,
Lisa, what are some other things to maybe just watch out for or take note of as something that maybe to reconsider the person that you are meeting with for coaching?
Well, I think similar to we all ask our friends and loved ones for recommendations on pick something, whether it's a doctor or your favorite shampoo. Like we all want to know what is really working for other people. So I think it's also important to take into consideration that the coaching world is not a regulated profession, though there are many like ourselves who do seek out certifications and then continue to seek out other certifications, courses. Like we're continuing to constantly educate ourselves in our careers. So I think that's something to be mindful of as well. And was actually one of the data points in my research that, well, let me see if I think I have that here. Because of the unregulated industry perception, 84% of coaching clients do preferred certified coaches. Now, that being said, I also have worked one-on-one with a coach who isn't quote unquote certified, but her reputation in what she does and how she works with her clients definitely outshines that particular data point. So I think, just like I said earlier, just be cognizant of who you're working with. And because a lot of us, I know the three of us do, you ask for like whatever you want to call it, a discovery call. Can I just get on a call with you and have a chit chat about what coaching looks like and just kind of a get to know each other type of call? Because as both Emily and Angela mentioned, it is imperative that that connection, that chemistry is there. It truly does matter.
Yeah, absolutely. A good coach is not going to give you unsolicited advice, and they're not going to make it about them or pushing their own agenda. So if you get any of that, that's a sign to maybe find a different coach. But I love what you said, like the discovery call, all three of us, if you want to work with us individually, offer that first call for free for that reason, so that we can get face to face with you on a Zoom call and let you decide if you feel that connection or not, because we want it to work both ways, right? We want to set it up for success. And I think even us doing this podcast, if you're listening and listen consistently to us every Tuesday when we have a podcast episode come out, you are getting to know us. And so by hearing how we interact with each other and what we have to say on here gives you a little window into who we are. And we are who we are. There is no pretense here. I can tell you that we are being ourselves here. And so it's just a great way to get to know someone that way too. So seek out, maybe they have a podcast, maybe they have a social media platform, maybe they have some other way that you can get to know them. That's another great way to research a coach that you might want to work with. So So wrapping up our conversation for today, I just want to remind everyone that coaching is an investment in you, and working with the right coach has the potential to lead you to the experience, the breakthrough that you might be looking for. And just remember, beautiful friends out there, you don't have to navigate this roller coaster of life alone. There is help out there. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is seek support for yourself. And we, the three of us here in the Life Coach Lounge, are cheering you on. Please reach out if you have any additional questions about anything we talked about today. We would be happy to have a conversation with you. Thank you all for joining us today in the Life Coach Lounge. If this episode resonated with you, we'd be honored if you would hit the subscribe button, share this episode with someone that might need to hear it. We are on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, and we would love to connect with you on Instagram. You can find us at the Life Coach Lounge, or you can reach out to us individually, and all the links are in the show notes to do that. Until next time, we are so grateful to walk alongside you on this journey, and we look forward to spending time with you next week in the lounge. And my friends, Angela and Lisa, I will see you two in the Marcos.